What is going on, guys? Today with another analysis of a top trading bot, the Quantum Bitcoin EA by Bodan Puscazu. As we see, still ranking on the top spots is the Quantum Queen MT5. I already did a review, link down below in the video description. Same for the Quantum Emperor MT5, also did a review. Check out the whole playlist of the EA reviews I did in the past. Swingmaster EA will be very likely next on my list, but for today we will focus on the Quantum Bitcoin EA. First thing, what I already see, there is a live signal, fantastic. I will also link this down below in the video description because we already know that this provider tends to simply delete or disconnect the signal when the system is getting busted. So it's always a little bit sketchy in my point of view. That's why for audit reasons I will simply put it down below in the video description so we can check it in a couple of weeks or month if the signal is still there. Before we dive into the signal, let's quickly go into the sales page. Quantum Bitcoin EA, there's no such thing as impossible, only a matter of figuring out how to do it. Step into the future of Bitcoin trading with this EA. It's the latest masterpiece of the top MQL5 seller. Well, indeed, he is a top MQL5 seller. Designed for traders, demanding performance, precision, stability, redefines what's possible in the volatile world of cryptocurrency. That is setting the tone. So we are looking here on cryptocurrencies and actually in particular here on Bitcoin against the US dollar. After the purchase, please send him a private message to receive the installation manual and set up instructions. Okay, sounds a bit manual, but that's how it is. Live signal. All right, now we're here at the live signal. Let's quickly go into it if we spot anything weird. It's live for 33 weeks. It's relatively old, it's not too young, it's not super old, but it has quite some track record. Just to say this, that's nice to see. Indeed, algo trading sits at 100%. We have a maximum drawdown of roughly 30%, but we also have a return of 311%. So the risk to drawdown, or actually the return to drawdown ratio is healthy, 1 to 10 roughly, 1 to 9. Usually I would say we speak of a very good system when the return are double the size of the maximum drawdown the system experienced, and here in that case it's more than given, so that's nice to see. Quickly checking out the graph. So what is already getting into my eye is that many deposits and withdrawals are happening. So here withdrawals, here's another deposit of 1k, withdrawals and another withdrawal. Let's see, now we go down here to the drawdown. That is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, MQL5 got so much better in analyzing or like enabling us, the users, to analyze these signals, but it's, for example, I can't see if this is like the same time period as when we're looking here on the graph. Anyway, we see, for example, here the blue line is showing us the balance, the red line is the drawdown. So we see here, for example, that the drawdown was the maximum, 32.3% relatively early on when the system started. And what we see actually is that there has been a deposit of 1,000 US dollar. That is usually happening as a measurement to protect the account to blow up, because usually when you see such a perfect equity curve, there's kind of a practice happening, which is maybe Martingale or grid or something else, or like not simply realizing losses. It just keeps on stacking positions until prices actually go back or actually in the favor of the taken position direction. So that's a bit off. Also same here, we see drawdown sitting at roughly 25%, and also here 1k has been deposited. And we can also observe when these things had happened, like here $400 has been, or actually 400, 600, so also more than 1k during a drawdown, since, well, barely any profits has been reeled in so early. The provider was feeding the system, the account early on to avoid an account blow up. Pointing this out, what does it mean to you in the end? It simply means you also need to be on top of your toes, being ready to preload more money into this kind of system on your account. For example, let's say you start with 1k and actually you need to sometimes once in a while add another k on top of this. Actually, let's see where this account started. probably somewhere around 1K when we are looking at this balance. Yeah, it's tough to say. It's a little bit all over the place because you see that he tries to maintain the account around 1,400 bucks because it's like he's withdrawing money here and there, depositing money just to like counter these kind of like drawdowns that is happening on the account. So you need to be ready to do this as well when you trade such a system. What is definitely taking away kind of the upside of such a system, even though the drawdown to return ratio is healthy, but this is definitely kind of a skewed view on this system, because before running into an even bigger drawdown or a drawdown that you can't recoup, you actually need to double the account size in the end to make sure that the whole account is not blowing up. This is definitely kind of a red flag regarding practices of a provider for a live signal, and you see he's doing it like quite a lot, like many withdrawals and deposits, because my suspicion, it's unproven yet, is that he's also using the withdrawals to feed other signals that are running in the background. He's not just simply making public, and as soon this signal is, for example, blowing up, he simply uploads another version 2 of this signal somewhere in the near future. And this is simply telling you that this system is not a long-term viable system eventually. This is something what we will see over time. This is just my suspicion as of now. What is nice, I like, is that he is providing actually a channel where you can exchange your thoughts. Yes, indeed, you can actually type stuff here. You can ask other people as well how the system is doing, how the experiences with others are. So that's definitely a pro. I like this very much. Let's go further in the sales page. Quantum Bitcoin EA thrives on the 1 hour time frame. All right, trend following makes sense. Let's see actually if it's taking only long or also short trades. Can we see this somewhere here? Let's see. Okay, bye. Okay, I have a suspicion it's only going long. Okay, we also have a sell. Okay, we have also a few sell positions, but wait, can we not actually see exactly? We see here the long trades, 91% of all the taken trades in this system. So it's either skewed to just take long trades or simply because Bitcoin tends to go up. That is why so many trades are being taken, but also Bitcoin moved definitely a bit sideways as well. So let's actually check this out over the past one. So we started here November 24, so somewhere here. So actually here we have been quite in a steep, in a period of like going down. So that's probably also where the early drawdown happened, because the system, my suspicion is, tends to only take long trades. That is why like this period was not that great, and this is also the obvious downside of systems that have kind of a skewed view on the market, such as gold always taking long, because gold long term tends to go up. But there are also obviously periods where also gold goes down, and then these systems who are prone to only go long on these kind of assets have a weak spot. All right, here we actually see it uses a grid approach. So it's kind of a different way of, it's not Martingale per se, but simply means that price keeps on moving on into the direction against you, and then you stack. For example, you take one lot, another lot, the more the price is moving into a certain direction, kind of like dollar cost averaging into the position. What is in general an interesting idea, interesting and viable approach, but definitely also with an approach, if it's never cutting losses, that can easily blow up your account. And that is why, it's not Martingale per se, but it's Martingale-ish, and definitely something you have to consider when you take such a system into your portfolio, that you run into the risk of losing your complete account when a system simply keeps on stacking positions, even though the trade is simply not panning out. Especially, for example, when we look here on Bitcoin, we were here somewhere in a 30% drawdown. Let's assume market would have dipped even more to like 10K or whatsoever. What this would have done to your trading account, trading the Quantum Bitcoin EA. This is just a side note. Bitcoin market works in 4 years long cycles. Bitcoin EA optimized capture patterns, closes trades in a favorable way. Well, indeed, we see this, right? There is absolutely it's not an ugly balance curve, what I usually like. So it's only going up because, well, now in this wording, it always closes trades in a favorable way. What simply means it only closes trades when the position overall is in profit. What definitely is an interesting way to trade the market, but I also really appreciate when an equity curve is simply looking ugly, because otherwise It reminds me of like Bernie Madoff with like this consistent growth of X% every single year, what is not a sustainable way of trading the market, because there's always a trade-off with a massive risk to the downside. All right, why should we choose the Quantum Bitcoin EA? It masters the unpredictable, engineered for Bitcoin, very volatile, dynamic asset. It's trend focused, cutting edge trend analysis with intelligent entry and exit points, win seal grid systems. It employs a breakthrough strategy to manage trades and secure consistent winning trades. Time-tested excellence from the creators of Quantum Emperor, Quantum Queen, what we already analyzed in the past. Quantum Starman, I think I also have it somewhere in my reviews. I mean, usually the provider, I think, says somewhere around 100, 200, 500 bucks. 1K is more on the higher side, what I usually see on the MQL5 market. Okay, account type, it's very important to use low spread accounts for best results. Okay, probably maybe it's scalping. Let's actually check this out here in the live signal. Yeah, indeed, we see the returns are usually relatively small, except for some outliers. So first of all, what I observe is that the lot size, okay, it's not always in the beginning. Okay, in the beginning it's the minimum 0.01, and we see that the profits are around 5 to 10 bucks. Then here we're actually reeling in some losses on the 25th. But for example, these are being, no, I can't sort it like this. But these losses are being set off by wins on other trades, 25th. So my suspicion is just like this system is looking on a composition of trades pretty much. So it takes several trades, right? It's a grid system, so it might take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trades in a row. We will check this out in a sec in the visual backtester. And then taking these trades as a group, and as soon as the group total profits, returns are above, let's say 16 bucks, all the trades are being closed with an accumulated profit of 16 bucks, despite some trades are maybe closed in a loss. This is my suspicion for this system. And overall, what I was just thinking, saying the provider, you need a low spread account, trading broker account, that it is probably also on the scalper side of things. Leverage 1 to 500, relatively high. For European traders, definitely look out for that. You need to trade with a non-EU broker. All right, let's quickly check out these pictures as well. Okay, this is just the signal. We see a backtest report. I mean, we'll replicate this ourselves in a sec. Okay, now it's time to test the Quantum Bitcoin in the visual mode. For that, I would get the demo version, Bitcoin, 1 hour. Let's actually see the inputs. Okay, there are a lot of inputs. Let's see, auto lot. I mean, I will keep everything as is, because why should you use different kind of settings if there's one setting that is just working out nicely for all those backtests? So I will just keep it as is. Profit in pips, just for a bit faster calculation. So we will actually ignore commissions, for example, which might bite into our returns, obviously. Deposit 1K as desired, leverage of 1 to 500, and let's kick it off. Quality of analyzed history is 100%, that is what we want. So what's definitely already a bit off is that our returns are like 50%, 68%, 40%. We almost already doubled our account here. Kind of a contrast to the live signal we have seen, so it might have to do something with the settings. Anyway, what I'm more interested in is not really the returns, is more about the rationale, how trades are being taken in the system. And what we see, we go long here, all right, one position after another. Let's go. You know what I would be interested in actually? Let's go the account, drawdown, let's see. So there has been a bigger drawdown, 20% June this year. You know what we will do? We will simply adjust it directly to June. So we will start in May to have a little bit of a runway. We kick it off. Let's let it run for a sec. So if the live signal is somewhat similar to the trading system we also get, I would also expect a drawdown of roughly 20%, actually of a bigger drawdown. Okay, here what we now see is actually we have a profit of minus 1,500 bucks, so we're actually in the negative with this account. Let's see what actually happened here. So big winner, exactly here in May. It already happened in May. Okay, there's something off with the settings, because in one trade it's simply doubling, quadrupling it. Risk level, let's say very low. Actually, let's make it low. Initial lot size, multiplier, okay. So the multipliers already, this is definitely Martingale, even though it's not like doubling every time, but it's definitely putting 20% each time a position is being taken. So that's interesting. Then some grid settings. Let's now run it with the lower risk before it was on medium. And let's see if we spot something weird. Now we see, for whatever reason, not a single trade is being taken. I mean, I only changed the risk size. Okay, that was a dot. Let's go back to the settings. Let's change it back to medium. Now it's taking trades again. Strange, because the taken trades are massive in returns. Okay, now we are just in a trade. For example, we see here no stop loss is in place. So that's also kind of a red flag for a system when you simply don't place a stop loss. Let's see if we can catch another one. Okay, it's too quick. But I mean, we saw it. Let's see. I mean, interestingly enough, now it's performing. I didn't change anything and now it's actually doing all right. Okay, this is the one trade that is actually breaking the neck. This is an auto close by the system. It would also happen if you traded live with a broker. If you don't have enough margin equity in your account, there's going to be a margin call and then they simply close out all the positions. And when you're lucky, you won't be in the negatives, as I'm right here. But sometimes the market is just moving too volatile, or you simply took too big of a position in the end. And for example, here we see the first example of taking of several trades that didn't work out. So here it went long, worked out quite all right, but it didn't close. Then the whole market went against the position. Then here the next trade was with a little bit bigger of a lot size, so it's Martingale-ish, and now we will never really know if it would recover with a different kind of like risk size, because for whatever reason the system is not taking any trades when we adjust the risk level. But for example, just simply the fact that we do not have any stop losses here, so we do not realize losses at any point of time, it's something that you need to like and that you need to be aware of. And in combination of what the provider is selling to you, which is this balance curve, but he's definitely not pointing out like his manual hustle of like preloading the account once in a while with a couple of bucks to avoid a complete blow up of the account. That is just something what I would like to point out, because this is definitely something that I'm missing here on the sales page. Maybe let me try one more time with low medium risk, and maybe also with a little bit more real settings, every tick based on real ticks. So I'm running it here on IC trading. I expect also good data quality actually. Let's see, ticks are being downloaded. Okay, now we actually see what is going on. So we get an error code, calculating margin, check money for trade. So probably it's taking even bigger trades. That's a good one. Error calculating margin in check money for... I'm a bit speechless. I don't know. As soon as we change the settings, it's not working very nicely. Let's change it to very low. I think we had it initially on low. Let's see if we get in the journal similar error code. Yep, indeed. And now let's go back to medium. All right, doing perfectly fine. Strange. Maybe that is something what we would need to reach out to the provider to get actually an idea of why this is happening. Let's see if we just increase the risk. Okay, then it's also fine. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's interesting. I just went higher in risk. Okay, because it's scalping. I think I have to scrap my comments before with the massive returns, which are a bit off because I was testing on open high, low close. That is obviously then not the, this is not the real test actually. Cool, that is nice to see. Let's run this one then a bit further until, and I expect, we don't see the exact date, that's a bit sad, but somewhere in June I'm expecting a bigger drawdown. Exactly here. Let's see, it's done. So here we are, the 6th of June, and even in May. No, this is also in June. Okay, and the drawdown here 15%, so it's roughly the same. So I can kind of rule out a history reader, so the provider is not really adjusting the system in hindsight to make it look better. So that's a good one. I like it. Usually sometimes you see this, I can rule it out to a certain extent, of course. And I definitely have to correct my statements before with a bigger, like with the too big of profits of like 500 bucks with a 1K account. So we see here again, now it's actually similar to the live signal. Very small profits are being reeled in. And here, for example, what I said before, before, all the trades are taken in a group. So once a system, for example, let's check out this one. Yeah, this is a perfect example of a grid system, right? The direction of the market is not panning out. So in relatively consistent manners, the system takes another trade. Let's go into the more nitty-gritties. So it's also, well, doubling down at least here on the last position, and then these trades are taken as a group, and then we see here 24, 20, so roughly $60 in returns. The trade is being closed. Interesting to see, so that's a good one, good to know, I would say. I think these would be my 5 cents to the trading bot. I covered the sales page, I went through the live signal, I will put it also down below in the video description. I checked out the system in the visual mode, so we get kind of a better understanding of how it's doing. Overall, I think the system is actually not that bad. I just do not really like how it's being sold, how the live signal is being, yeah, you could say manipulated, because usually I assume if you do not like preload the account here with these like capital injections, the signal would actually blow up and the drawdown would be even bigger than the 30%, and then we are getting into kind of an awkward drawdown to return ratio. So that is why the live signal is, I mean, very insightful. So I wouldn't say it's useless, but definitely take it with a grain of salt overall, and think if you would like this kind of system, because it's not really an investment vehicle. In my point of view, it's more kind of a fun way to invest in the markets and maybe get your first steps ongoing with a system that is, for example, simply not placing any stop loss, doubling down on trades that are not going into your favor, and on top of that, all of that, you're trading a very volatile, indeed dynamic asset, which is Bitcoin. And if you want to trade this with a system that is not taking a stop loss and also doubles down or actually takes more positions the further the price is going against you, is really up to you if this is something what you would like to do as well. I think it's definitely a fun way, but if it's a sustainable long-term way, I would say rather not.